Well, greetings, everyone. If you are in the U.S., for my U.S. subscribers, good morning. For those of you who are in the U.K., good afternoon. And wherever else you are around the world, hope you guys are having a good day. I need to talk a little bit today about the heat, the sun, and how that affects your garden. For the last 5 or 6 summers, we have been breaking records. It's just been so hot, and of course that affects the garden. So how do you protect your garden? Protect your garden with uh, basically this guy here. You need shade. So in order to have shade, you're going to need to have shade cloth. I mean, that's one of the reasons, one of the ways to do it. But before you can purchase shade cloths, you need one of these. And that's a tape measure. People often run out or go online and they buy these shade cloths without knowing how much they need, without knowing what size to get. So today, I'm going to give you 6 tips on what I do in order to protect my garden using shade cloth. Now, there's probably hundreds of videos and lots of people out there that will give you their take on it. I don't think there's a real hard and fast set rules, but these are mine. So, number one is size. Now, this is for demonstration purposes only. I just put this up so that you guys can see. These are filthy right now because I've been using them for another purpose. I've been using these to keep the weeds down because if you notice in my other videos, I have been trying to control the weeds so that I can plant flowers and other vegetables in the garden. So that worked, and now I'm going to use it to protect my plants. So to give you an idea of what I'm saying in terms of what size, you see, I just showed you one of my shade cloths, but here's a second one. It's way different from the first one, and look at the size. This just keeps going on and on. This is probably about 50 feet. I don't remember exactly the length, but you can see it's pretty long. So measure the area that you're going to use before you purchase. Now the other thing is people say to this off, well, why should I spend the money? Well, you're going to spend it now, you're going to spend it later. Because the hotter it is, obviously, the more you're going to have to water your plants. And if you let your plants get too hot, well, I say let, but if the sun does get too hot, a lot of your vegetable plants, if you get up to around 85, 90 degrees, their growth is going to slow and maybe even stop. These are my beans you're looking at. And that brings me to point number 2, which is ventilation. I just put this up before I did this video. It's not that hot right now, but you need ventilation. You need circulation. Some of these are pretty thick, and these shade cloths, if you shut off the ventilation, if there's no room for air to get in, then you're kind of defeating the purpose because you're going to just make it get hotter inside. So ventilation, circulation is 2. And I think the most common mistake people make is they set it and forget it. They have to go to work. They know it's going to be in the 90s. So they set it up in the morning and they leave it. Well, fruits and vegetables, a lot of them need 6 to 8 hours a day of sunlight. And if you have a shade cloth that's blocking that light before it gets hot, then you're kind of defeating the purpose of growing your plants. And later on, you'll wonder why your harvest is smaller, or why your harvest is taking longer to mature. And it could be because you're keeping the shade cloth on all day long and you're preventing the sun from getting in. Now, number 4, to me, this is the most important one out of all. And that is, people don't realize that all shade cloths are not created equal. If you look at this one here, you look at the texture, you look at the fiber, you have to look, look through the dirt, but you look at the texture on this one and look at the texture on this one, and basically you'll see that this is more of a mesh, and this material is somewhat thicker. But the point I'm trying to make here on point number 4 is these guys come in percentages. They come in percentages just like they come in sizes. How much sun do you want to have blocked? You can block, some of these go down to as little as 40%, which means they let in 60% of the sun, 60% of the light. And some of these go all the way up to 90%, which obviously is only going to let in 10% of the sun, which is, I guess, depending upon where on the planet you live, you have to make that determination of whether you want something 40, 50%, something 80, 90%, or something in between. So you're going to have to decide what size you want. You're going to have to decide what percentage of the sun you want to have blocked. And that brings me to number 5, and that is the price and material. These things are all over the place in terms of price. I got this one from Amazon. I got this one from a flea market. You can go, oh boy, there are tons of places that sell these things, and because they're different sizes and because they are made from different materials, then you're going to pay different prices. I would not just buy the first one unless you're one of those impulsive shoppers or you don't have a lot of time, a lot of patience. I would not just run out and buy the first one I find. I would price them and see which one is going to give me the best deal, which company is going to give me the best deal. So that brings me to number 6, and that is you need a way to secure your shade cloth. Every time I use these, the frugal daughter-in-law gets a kick out of it, and I usually get an email or a text from her. These little clamps, I've been using these for about 10 years now. They're like 99 cents at Kroger. I guess you can probably order them online. We have wind gusts, windstorms, high winds, and those winds can carry these suckers away. I use these, and in terms of what I was saying to you about ventilation, but these clamps, if you don't use these clamps, I have found these shade cloths in my neighbor's yard. You can easily find these up the street, and if you really have a bad storm, you might find these in the next county somewhere. So yeah, you need to use, if not these clamps, something to keep these in place. Now, there's your 6. I'll go through them again. You have to determine what size you need. You need to make sure you have ventilation and circulation. Number 3 is the hours of use. It's not set it and forget it. Number 4, you need to determine what type you want. How much of the sun do you want actually blocked? And number 5 is to basically shop around and try to get yourself a good deal, because after all, we are being frugal. and number 6 are the clamps. Now, I'm going to throw in a little bonus, and that is these guys here. These are broken coat hangers. And you know me, instead of tossing them in the trash, I'm using these the same as I would use these. Basically, the corners are rounded so they're protected, and you can see I just took this off of it, so they work well. I'm not saying everybody has these laying around the house. This is just to give you an idea of another way you can save money while gardening. So that's it, gang. That's my 6 tips. And one last thing. Usually in the spring, these things are plentiful. You can get a decent price. But once the heat hits, once we get into the dog days of summer, then these prices go up if you can find them. So my suggestion would be to get on this ASAP and get yourself a shade cloth or two and protect your plants. I'm the Frugal Gardener. I hope you subscribe. I hope you tell your friends. I hope you repost this. Remember, when you grow your own food, you'll always know where it comes from. I'll catch you guys on the next video in a few days.